Hey guys! Okay, so I'm back with me and my buddy. By the way, I don't think I introduced my buddy. This is my buddy Earl. He has been my best buddy since as long as I can remember. He was my mom's best buddy, and then he was my brother's best buddy, and now he's my best buddy. And I have him with us for our read-alongs. So I also wanted to read another book with you, a chapter book that we can finish reading throughout the next month. Okay, so I'm only going to read like a chapter or two, but that means you have to come back tomorrow and listen for more. But every time I read a section, I want you to retell your parents what you hear from Miss Hubbard, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and get started. This story is called Captain Underpants and the Perilous Plot of Professor Poopy Pants. The fourth epic novel by Dave Pilkey. I know so many of you love Captain Underpants. It's going to be so fun, so funny. All right, let's see. Oh, this looks like it's going to be good. Oh my goodness, look at all the chapters in the table of contents. Ah. All right, so I'm going to go to my first story, and my first story is George and Harold. Let's see. Chapter 1. This is George Beard and Harold. Woo. Oh, okay. This is George Beard and Harold Hutchins. George is the kid on the left with the tie and the flat top. Harold is the one on the right with the t-shirt and the bad haircut. Remember that now. All of the experts at Jerome Horwitz Elementary School and their opinions about George and Harold. Their guidance counselor, Mr. Rected, thought the boys suffered from ADD. The school psychologist, Miss Labler, diagnosed them with ADHD, and their mean old principal, Mr. Krupp, thought they were just plain old BAD. But if you ask me, George and Harold simply suffered from IBSS, incredibly boring school syndrome. You see, George and Harold weren't really bad kids. They were actually very bright, good-natured boys. Their only problem was that they were bored in school. So they took it upon themselves to liven things up for everybody. Wasn't that thoughtful of them? Unfortunately, George and Harold's thoughtfulness got them into trouble every now and then. Sometimes it got them into a lot of trouble, and one time it got them into so much trouble it almost caused the entire planet to be taken over by a ruthless, maniacal, mad scientist guy in a giant robot suit. But before I can tell you that story, I have to tell you this story. Chapter 2. All hail New Switzerland. As everybody knows, New Switzerland is a small country just southeast of Greenland. You probably know all about New Switzerland's natural resources and systems of government, but here's something about New Switzerland that I'll bet you didn't know. Everybody in New Switzerland has a silly name. Just ask their president, the Honorable Chuckles Jingleberry McMonkeyburger Jr., and his lovely wife, Stinky. They'll tell you all about New Switzerland's proud silly name heritage. They'll tell you about the cultural significance of silly names. And then they'll probably tell you a really long boring story of how this silly tradition got started. We'll skip that part, okay? Just remember that everyone in New Switzerland has a silly name. From the richest to the poorest, from the silliest to the smartest. And speaking of the smartest, let me introduce you to Professor P. Poopy Pants. That's a statue of him down there in the bottom right-hand corner of the page. Now, P. Poopy Pants was probably the smartest person in all of New Switzerland. He graduated at the head of his class at Chunky Q Booger Nose University, and afterwards spent all of his time creating wild and fantastic inventions. Let's look in on him, shall we? Back in his private laboratory, Professor P. Poopy Pants was just putting the finishing touches on two wonderful new inventions, the Shrinky Pig 2000 and the Goosey Grow 4000. Professor Poopy Pants called for his assistant. Pork Belly Funky Skunk, Mr. Funky Skunk, Pippi yelled. I am now ready to test my new inventions. Pork Belly took notes while the professor aimed his Shrinky Pig 2000 at a hideous pile of trash. Zerk! A powerful beam of energy blasted the garbage heap. Suddenly, the large pile of trash shrank to the size of a gumball. Hooray! It works! Cried Professor Poopy Pants. Now I must try the Goosey Grow 4000. Pippi and Pork Belly aimed the Goosey Grow 4000 at an ordinary hot dog with muscle. Ooh, with mustard. Went another bright beam of energy. Suddenly, the hot dog grew and grew until it crashed through the walls of the laboratory. We did it! Exclaimed Pork Belly. What do you mean, we? Yelled Professor Poopy Pants. I did it. I'm the genius. You're just the lowly assistant, and don't you forget it. Sorry, boss, said Pork Belly. Oh, he's not being very nice. Second book today where we have friends not being very nice to people. With these two inventions, exclaimed Professor Poopy Pants, I will be able to solve the world's garbage problem and create enough food for everyone on the entire planet. Finally, it looked as if all of Earth's dilemmas would be fixed forever. But who would have believed that in just a few short weeks, Professor Poopy Pants would be trying to take over the planet in a fit of frenzied rage? Well, dear readers, the tragic tale is about to unfold. But before I can tell you that story, I have to tell you this story. Okay, so that's where we're going to stop so far. So I need you to take everything that you remember from what Miss Hubbard just read, and I want you to retell it to your parents. And tomorrow, I'm going to come back with my buddy and a new set of fancy PJs to finish reading some more chapters of our book. All right, guys, have a good night. I love you and I miss you, and I will see you tomorrow.